I almost met Bill Gates at COP28.
Only almost.
Almost.
Nor.
Welcome to the Estonian Youth Delegates podcast. My name is Celine. I'm Estonian Senior Youth Climate Delegate. And today we'll dive into what it means to be a youth delegate, the opportunities and challenges it brings, and how it's shaping Europe's approach to global issues, such as climate. Because today I'm joined by my wonderful colleagues from Finland and Latvia. We are all climate youth delegates, so that will be the main hot topic we're going to discuss today. But I will let you guys introduce yourselves, tell me your name and your title, and also maybe like a little fun fact.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name's Antti Regelin. Also, some people call me Rege. I'm Finland's Senior Youth Delegate, and that means I've done 1 year. I'm going to have this year ahead of me. My fun fact, it's always the hardest part. I really do enjoy putting weird things when combining food. Pomegranate on pizza, bangs.
Paula.
Okay, that was a very interesting fun fact. So, hi everyone, I'm Paula Patrīcija Avotiņa. I'm the retired, let's say that, climate advisor. I was a climate advisor to the UN Youth Delegate of Latvia in 2023 and 2024. And my fun fact, I have been a vegetarian for 5 years, and it started as a New Year's resolution in 2020. And it's still continuing.
Oh, wow. Hi, everyone. I'm Saara Böök. I'm the Finnish Youth Climate Delegate for the next 2 years, so 25 to 26. Oh, this question always bothers me. But maybe a fun fact is that I love walking. Like, if I can walk somewhere, even if it's like multiple kilometers, I do it. It doesn't really matter like how long the distance is.
Hi, I'm Karin-Annika, and I'm a junior delegate from Estonia. And this year, which means that this year I'm working with Celine, and then next year I'm already going to the COP myself, and then like giving, supporting the new junior delegate who will be chosen. And I believe that like, the fun fact question is always is always interesting. Well, I guess that maybe the fun fact is that oh my god. Okay, let's say that I have this summer I have tried bog swimming, like these bogs that are like in the forest and they're like super tiny lakes, and yes, for me it was like on my bucket list for a long time, and now finally I have tried it.
And as I said, my name is Celine. Fun fact about me, I should share with you as well. I really like... what do I really like? I think I really love saunas. Maybe we will talk about sauna today.
Are you sure that's Finnish?
Yeah, but I had a recent experience with a very cool team. And I went to sauna with very cool people. And it's all connected to my mandate as well. So I was just maybe asking you the first question. When we break it down, we are official national youth delegates, and maybe somebody thinks that we are just, we are like politicians, or we are just wannabe diplomats. We don't have any training whatsoever, but we are just representing youth voices and all that. Let's leave it all behind. I have a question for you. What's the coolest moment you've experienced during your mandate? Maybe, Antti, you can start because you're the most... No, you're not most senior, but in terms of... Oh, Paula, you're the oldest one here in terms of this youth delegate hierarchy. So maybe you can start sharing your coolest moment as a youth delegate.
I think when you asked this question, the first thing that popped to my mind was COP29, as I think it was very recent as well. So for me, it was just having all the time breakfast with the UN ambassador of Micronesia. And I found out that he's the ambassador to the United Nations on the last day of leaving. So, and we spent time together at the breakfast eating all the time and just, gossiping for 6 days before that. When I found out after that he was an ambassador, still is. So I think that was the coolest moment.
That's so cool that you can share you basically befriended him.
Yes. I started yapping and he yapped back.
Buddies. That's cool. Okay, maybe I can then go next. So firstly, I wish the coolest thing was the planet, which it isn't. I'm a friend of puns. I apologize already to every single podcast listener today. Then in practice, so the United Nations climate diplomacy cycle basically has 2 meetings. It's the COP and then the less known subsidiary bodies meeting in Bonn in the summer. This was the first year, or 2024 was the first year that Finnish youth delegates got to attend Bonn, which in itself was really cool because it was something we hadn't done before. It was a major milestone for us. And then also it was my first thing to do really as a delegate. And then what was basically the first thing that the European youth delegates were kind of planning was who's going to hold the ministerial intervention, basically a speech in the European, or not just the ministerial, but European heads of delegations meeting. And then that was kind of one of the first things I did. And I was super duper scared. And I was afraid I'll screw it up. It turned out that they were really responsive, also really constructive and they criticized well. But at the same time, I think that was kind of kicking it off with a bang. And it felt like actually also something which is not just cool to take part in, but also felt meaningful to push it at the time, which was when positions of the EU weren't yet set in stone.
We have 2 junior youth delegates joining us today, Saara and Karin-Annika. I know you've been having your mandate for, Saara, for you it's been 1 month.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and Karin-Annika, you've been in this position for 3 months, I think. So do you have anything, or maybe I don't know, dream who you want to meet, famous person, or what are your, if you don't have a cool moment yet, do you want, what is your, I don't know, in your to-do list or?
That's a really good question. On my to-do list, I think we have a lot of cool national things happening in Finland this spring. We have the national elections as well coming this spring. I think that'll be definitely on our to-do list.
Municipal.
Yeah, exactly. But in my point of view, I'm really a big fan of climate communication. I feel like this year will definitely be a crucial point for the stories that we're telling about the climate. We really need a different kind of story. How we're telling about climate, how we're telling about the different solutions that we have. We need a bigger pressure all year round. So I think that's one of the biggest goals that I really want to do.
I have a follow-up question because we met with the Estonian Minister for Climate, Yoko Alender, today, and she asked us how do we change the narrative for climate change. And we were really happy to share our opinion. I remember your answer was really good one. Can you share it with us?
Well, I think, in my opinion, we need to talk about climate without talking about climate. We need to link it to different kind of topics that are around us and are really relevant for people who might disagree or be even denialist for climate change. One of the, couple of the topics that popped in the discussion was security and health. So I think those are the things that we need to really tie closer to climate discussion in general.
Yeah, nice. And today the discussion went also really well, I think. And I would say that from the cool things that happened during the time that I was a youth delegate is the tour in the Estonian parliament that the member of parliament Hanna Lahe gave us. It was really, really fun and nice to walk around all the corridors and places in the parliament. And what I'm looking forward to is definitely COP, which will happen in Brazil. And I think that one of my goals for that, because my biggest I would say connection is still with how to make youth voices heard, and I'm really interested in how what are the youth statements or viewpoints from different areas of the world. So I would say that for me, I would maybe make given some sort of a list of the of the representatives of youth representatives who I want to find on the conference to talk to them. So I would say that this is one of the most valuable things to me to get the direct connection with young people around the world. So I would think that now it seems like the most valuable thing.
I almost met Bill Gates at COP28.
Only almost.
Almost. So maybe, and also networking. I love that you bring that up, that networking is the core of being a youth delegate. Also, I have a question for you because you're experts. Why do youth delegates matter in today's world? Because we don't have to sugarcoat this. What unique value do we bring to the table? Antti, you're also a youth negotiator, so maybe you can just tell us more about how do you see this?
So I'd maybe split this apart into a bit smaller or bigger themes, but I think in itself, even disregarding us youth delegates, I think that there is a value per se in having young people becoming active parts of politics. I feel like the entire political discourse is fairly strongly driven by people who are middle-aged, elderly. We can see that in transatlantic politics, in a lot of things, and from that angle, whatever your role is, whether it's youth delegate or something entirely else, that's important per se. Then touching on the kind of youth delegacy and youth engagement, what our role is, what is the whole function of it. I think it originally, to some extent, even spans from the idea of the United Nations General Assembly not having the youth present there, when in reality the world leaders are gathering to decide on the future of the world. And why I think that in the climate space there is a special case to be made for the youth is the fact that there's a lot of irreversible things and processes that are going to disproportionately affect the youth. I think it also applies to gender, right? The genderized effect of climate change, especially in the global south, it's mostly going to affect women. It's a fact. And then what comes to this youth negotiator thing that I also kind of ties to my first mentioned Bonn conference was, it's a negotiating meeting. And this is hard to really nail down in a podcast, but I try to oversimplify this a bit, which is that a youth delegate program, firstly, there are very many different ways of having one. Ours is that we're appointed by our National Youth Council, so our ANL basically. We represent the youth. We are to some extent supported by the government, and they give us the ability to have the maximal influence, but we are not outside of the negotiation rooms, tied in what we are allowed to say and do. So
we're independent, right?
Yes, there is but the problem with youth negotiators that I see is if you go very deep into the negotiations, it actually does make sense that you represent the stance of the party you represent. In our case, being the European Union, and that takes away or can take away the independence of the youth in general. So that's why I'm kind of torn how much I want the youth to be negotiators and how much I think their value is increased by them actually being independent and pushing the envelope rather than okay, here's what the EU wants. Now you've just become, or you might become just an underpaid negotiator, right? It's cool and it's meaningful, but this was kind of a lengthy answer to why it's important to give us the best available tools, but to be careful, what is the actual most meaningful course of action? Because I don't that much need to see the United Nations climate convention continue if we fix the climate change issue, right? That's a different thing than having the continuation of the like multilateral system per se, because we're just trying to have the like highest amount of impact.
I will elaborate on your answer, which was very, like, I love the oversimplification. Also, I will call out this practical guide for youth delegates to the United Nations, which is a collaboration between Finnish, Danish and Estonian national youth councils. And we have also minimum standards for youth delegates. So I will read them out just quickly. We are all, because we are national youth delegates, we are recognized by a European national delegation as their youth delegate to the UNFCCC. We are young, we are independent from the government, we are appointed through a fair and transparent process, including youth, and we agree that we meet the minimum standards. So these are the 5 rules to becoming a youth delegate. So you can see that there's no policy involved or politics. I think for me as a youth delegate who is not part of any party, it's a very distinctive factor when I compare myself to my other friends who are part of political parties. I'm not politician. That's one thing I want to state, because in Estonia we might have this misunderstanding that, oh, you're dealing with climate, you must be part of, I don't know, Green Party or something. So we're just representing our nation's youth, and I think that's really cool thing to do once you're in your 20s or something, because you are the expert. Paula, I have a question. What is with Latvia and advisors? Why don't you have youth delegates? Why do you have advisors?
That's actually a very good question. I hope that I will have the answer for it. But basically, our program was established in 2019 by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But of course, as we are independent, the organization couldn't go under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So we were put under one of the, not really the youth council, but like youth organization that works very closely with the Latvian Youth Council, called Club the House. So the program is put under this organization. About the advisory, that's how the first delegate shaped it, the program. And as we know, we'll have the 6th delegate. It looks like that this option of having advisory team, then volunteers, especially for bigger conferences like the national conference that we organize once a year in August, or also the Baltic conference that we try to organize time to time. It was success in Riga, then it was success in Tallinn. Lithuania, I just hope that you will join us someday. But yeah, that's just how it works better. So we have one UN Youth Delegate that goes mainly to UNGA, so UN General Assembly. Then we have the coordinator, that is a paid position, mainly deals with all the paperwork, let's say that, and with all the coordination. Then we have in 4 different fields advisory. So climate, education, gender equality, and international security, as security topics are very popular in this part of Europe. And then we also have volunteers that are mainly helping, as I said, for the events, or maybe preparing some news articles for our Instagram page and helping advisors. So this is how the program is shaped. I don't know why it is like that. It's just something that was established by the first delegate in 2019, and that's how the program has continued.
Well, I, as Estonia's 4th youth climate delegate, I have to say that that's really different. It depends on the country. We have so many different programs in Europe, so it's at first it's pretty difficult to understand the differences, but all in all, we are all for youth. So, Antti, you have something?
Yeah, I also super shortly wanted to add that like it's in everything, like you mentioned about the political parties and such representation, like it's very much tied to different countries, where some have like an extremely kind of almost a separated system from the political parties, whereas there's countries where you cannot even really become a youth delegate and if you are not affiliated. So it's just like always good to keep in mind when we exit the national politics to a kind of global level that there's over 190 countries, and in some of them it's like a completely backward system to what we're used to. And that's just, I just wanted to bring it out that like, for example, in the Finnish youth delegate scene, we do also have people who are affiliated with political parties, but that's just the way our system works.
Can I ask a question to both Estonia and Finland out of curiosity? Are you as a youth delegate allowed to be in a political party?
We are.
Okay.
We are as well. But now I have a question for all of you, and maybe starting from, I don't know, junior youth delegates. Do you feel like you're being heard? And are you ready? How will you deal with the pushback, for example, if somebody says that, oh yeah, you're just young people fighting for climate, it doesn't really matter. Are you prepared for that?
Well, I think that I can start. I would like to start with the pushback. So I guess that during my time when I was like active young person, I did some like initiatives, some like volunteering and projects and stuff like that. Let's say that like all the time, if anyone posts on Facebook like that young people did something well, there is like a whole lot of comments who say that like this is, you know, someone, I don't know, paid them to do like a protest, or like someone, I don't know, they, like that young people don't know anything about anything, like they should just, you know, shut up and don't do like any suggestions or something. So I guess that I just got used, or like at least in from my perspective, like I think I know that there will be some like pushback, and I guess that of course each time it's still a bit, I would say, like, disappointing that the like there is pushback for when one part of society, because young people are the like big part of the society, and the future of as also Antti said, like the people who are actually going to deal with the consequences of their previous actions, that there is pushback towards the like opinions and voices. However, I guess like it's something that I cannot change or like take away. So I guess it's just like part of all of this. And then about being heard, well, I guess that I haven't done as much yet as a junior delegate. However, when I as much as I did like reach out to someone, or young people from schools like reached out to me to do like a presentation or like a small lecture because they had some like projects, sustainability projects going on in their school. Well, I feel that like from both sides, so if we as a like youth delegates are somewhere like in between of like two parts, yeah, as a bridge, right? So I guess that from both sides there is like potential to be heard. So I'm like very ready to try, also like national or like international level. However, yeah, as I said about the pushback, I just understand that probably it's something that maybe like if I'm not too pessimistic, then maybe it's something that will always stay, like some skepticism towards young people who like have less experience, or they are just like younger by their age.
Yeah, maybe to add on that, I think we, like, young people are always told that we need to be louder, we need to do more, we need to, like, push the agenda in a way. But I think instead of that, we actually need the ears that are, like, hearing us and the people who are, like, ready to listen. So I think that's one of the points, like, kind of like to criticize the comment, like where people are saying that we need to be louder. Like, I think we need more people listening and having a more conversation between different kind of like people and different kind of opinions as well. Of course, you need to choose your battle, and I think this is the kind of topic where you always have a pushback. Like working in a like climate organization myself, I think there's always a pushback, and you need to be prepared for it. But that's the scenery, like that's the life. Like you always need to get ready for it and not to give up. Like your voice matters.
I was advisor for 2 years, and about being heard, I have to be very honest, and I'm gonna be. In the first year, I felt mainly as a token, so I'm just there doing something with the climate because it's trendy, cool, funny, to have all the young people involved in the educational matters, in the climate matters, gender equality, etc. And I got annoyed a bit, and I started to be more vocal and pushing back. So I applied for the second mandate, as well as I'm not chosen for 2 years. It's just something I can do. I can reapply. So I reapplied for the second mandate, and I knew what I want to do. I knew that I want to go to COP and to be part of the national delegation, and to try and influence something, because also with the climate and energy ministry that we have in Latvia, it's a very new ministry. I think similarly as Estonia has the climate ministry, very, very new. So the corporation wasn't built that strongly, so that was something I went after. And also, of course, joining the European Climate Youth Delegates network, as it is then a stronger stance to go back to the home country and saying what needs to be done better, because I have some comparison to make. But very much this program still is a little bit tokenistic, and there's still room for the improvement. And I just hope that everyone in the team, in the next team, will be heard better than I was in 2023 and in 2024.
So good comments here. I'm trying to maybe chime on something that like necessarily hasn't been touched yet, and I think in this position, and if you are a young person involved in diplomacy or international politics, I think there is a very different setting for what it means for you to be heard than in a national context. I think like what Saara mentioned, for example, and what Paula mentioned, both resonate with me strongly, because I feel like we might get heard. It does not necessarily translate to action. Have I done something right? Have I been heard? Only if it becomes action, because sometimes it becomes action even if I don't say it. And the trick, I feel, lies in the fact that, like, to some extent, the bigger the problem is, the more we would need youth to actually push for it. I feel like the Greta Thunberg effect was a great example of like kind of a not seen after effect on like a large multinational level, where people and adults in quotes here could feel that, okay, this is something that is important to the young people, that now it's also more scattered. So yes, at the same time we're being heard, but it's not translating enough into action. Yet at the same time in the climate scene, it's not just youth who aren't being heard, it's that scientists are not being heard. And I wouldn't really necessarily like to oversimplify again. I don't care if they listen to me, if they listen to scientists, but the problem is they don't listen to scientists. So my role is to try to make them listen to someone. And if we just add more voice in general, then maybe the world leaders will listen to science. Doesn't look like it so far, but we're trying.
At COP29, we had the great meeting with the IPCC, who is the leader.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, so basically the scientific body, international scientific body behind the UN Climate Convention.
Yeah, me and Antti, and also other colleagues from European Climate Youth Delegates Network, we got to meet with the vice president IPCC.
Yes.
And it was a great talk, and also my take-home message was that the initiative must come from youth, but at the same time IPCC doesn't have like in their process or something, they don't have like specific like youth delegates or something to bring like official delegation for young people, for example. So it's all very scientific, and my agenda or mission as a youth delegate is to bring the science to young people, but also educating the older generations at the same time. So it's a pretty hard goal I have for myself, just to make science easy. Even if climate change is one of the most complex things to understand.
Make science sexy.
Make science sexy. Yeah, that's better. Let's talk about European Climate Youth Delegates Network. because we know that when we combine the voices, we amplify our voices, then we have a better outcome in the end. How has working together across borders enriched your experience as a youth delegate? Can you comment on that? Because we are all part of the European Climate Youth Delegates network.
I can I'll try to keep this a bit shorter, but I'll continue on this. So like Celine said, we're part of a European network. It includes EU and non-EU member states. So there's a mix of those who work through our bloc within the system. So the EU bloc in the negotiations, those say Norway, Switzerland who don't. And the network is very crucial because we as individual European small countries, I feel especially, I believe a lot of the audience is Estonian. It's like compared to large, say even like tens of millions or 80 million people, European countries, it's if we do not have the collective force, and the same applies to us youth, if we don't have the collective force, we really don't get anything done. Because even if whole of the European Union, all the European leaders agree, it still doesn't go through in the system because there's still multiple continents, multiple superpowers to convince. So even if we can't agree, then like how can we expect the others to agree?
China, the States.
And India, the Arab states, a lot of different partners that are very difficult.
I think that I can say already now, like that. So because I have been in this role since basically middle of October only, and I think that right now for me it's the first time when I'm like physically meeting youth delegates from other countries actually, which is super nice. I would say that like I'm definitely getting. I definitely feel that it's very useful to get other perspectives because I believe that, for example, you are already working on something in which we face the same problem. However, you already kind of like at some point got to the answer and you're already working on it. For example, when we talked about changing the narrative, right? So you already as a like communication person, you already like are working 2 years on this how to like approach the winters and like how to keep it and popularize it. However, like for example, today when we met with our climate minister, then it was like hot topic, like how do we change it? So I think it's from like my perspective, it's definitely very valuable because depending on the region, I think there might be differences in how, for example, like how long these programs have existed, or like how long have people already worked on the topics to like create some networks or structure inside of their countries.
Yeah. So Latvia joined this network last year in September, so with me. And how it has changed and enriched the experience, I would say if we're looking at the global picture for the COP, then Estonia is not negotiating on themselves, Latvia is not negotiating on themselves, and Finland as well. We're negotiating together as EU. So being in this European network, it makes it easier also to go to the EU's negotiators who have even bigger power than the country specifically, because I don't know how big Finnish delegation was, but Latvian and Estonian wasn't that big of the delegation during the COP. So it was even also harder to cover all the topics of the limited amount of people that we have. And also if you're the only delegate there, you also cannot cover everything. So that's what I really liked during the COP29, that we had people that were covering the specific groups, the specific topic groups. For example, I was with the Just Transition program. So, and after that, when we had some meetings or something, we can all discuss the highlights, what happened, and should we react on that. So it's much, much easier to actually influence bigger politics, as knowing that the EU has already big voice in the world.
I love that you bring out this topic because we have adaptation, mitigation, just transition, finance, GAP, and ACE as continuous topic groups.
GAP is Gender Action Plan and ACE is Action for Climate Empowerment. There's a lot of language lingo.
Yes, and you can check it out from this, whatever it's called, practical guide, or just contact us as ESID. We call it European Climate Youth Delegates Network. But I really wanted to ask you, before we move on to the like cultural differences and maybe advice for aspiring youth delegates and then closing up, do you have any advice you've been to COPs? Paula and Antti and I have been to COP, but Karin and Saara never been to COP before. So do we have like specific advice for young people, not only youth delegates, maybe just youth observers or whatever you like to call volunteers, just going to these big conferences, also not only COP, but the other UNGA, for example. Do you have any specific advice? You can read it all about in this practical guide for youth delegates to the United Nations, but do you have any tips and tricks to take with you or to give to juniors or aspiring youth representatives?
Drink a lot of water. Drink
Drink a lot. Sorry, continue.
Drink a lot of water. We are a family-friendly podcast here, so drink a lot of water. But to be honest, when you go to this kind of big conference, you will feel so small. You will feel a little. This can be so depressing. You will feel a little bit worthless. But that's why you make the networking. That's why you create the contacts that will help you not only to go through the process, to learn something new, to negotiate, but it will be also like a mental support system, because it can be very tiring. As during the COP, we were at the stadium from morning 8:30 when the EU coordination meeting started, 9, till even some left at the midnight. Depends if you were following the negotiations. So, of course, you will feel very drained, but that's why it's very good to find someone that you can network with, or just some mental support buddy, because it will be needed. But the conference is very nice. I'm not portraying very depressing shit.
Yeah, I maybe could try to especially talk to the possible like aspiring to be or aspiring youth who want to work in this sphere. Firstly, I'd want to highlight the fact that the official youth and children's constituency of the UNFCCC called Youngo is actually fully open for any youth from anywhere in the world to join. So that's actually something very concrete that I want to highlight, that if you yourself want to get involved, it doesn't have to be through a very selective youth delegate program. Of course, it can be also that, but there's like a gazillion different avenues that you can take if you would want to participate in these. COPs are a bit harder to get into maybe. They're often geographically more isolated from Europe. But for example, the Bonn Climate Conference, I was personally surprised how many grassroots level activists and European youth is present there. They even organize like bed sharing and stuff like that. So kind of to the audience who also would be potentially interested, I highly advise you to potentially at least check them out and consider even joining or maybe coming on site. And then I know it's really, really hard to get on site, but once you do get in, I think majority of the most important things were already stated here. I was told when I was going there by the more experienced folks to just lower your expectations for the sake of your own sanity, because you're there. There's world leaders. There's people with way much more power. And even if you did everything 1,000% correct, it might change. That's what you fight for, because if you don't fight, at least then you didn't even try to contribute. But it can also be that it's completely like, at least it feels like it can be completely down the drain. So I don't know how to mentally adjust to that myself yet. Even I was quite drained after COP, after Bonn as well. But I think what I'd in general want from every single, not just climately related, but climate topic-wise related youth striving to, through any means, have a change in society, that like we need a lot of perseverance and persistence, and engaging first and then gaining the perseverance through that is something that is like just possibly even impossible to teach without like actually being to some extent part of it.
These are really good recommendations, so listen closely. And now let's get a bit provocative as well. imagine you caught a golden fish and you have 3 wishes. And now we've listened to other countries sharing their experiences, how youth engagement works in another country. And now I have a question for you. What would you wish for from this fish? Anything you'd steal for your own programs, or what's something unique or frustrating about your country's system you would want to change right now? So everyone can get their 3 wishes right now. I'm the golden fish.
I don't know
What would you change in Estonia then? Well, we are thinking.
I would get the paid for being a youth delegate. Just a little pocket money, just to finance my day.
For reference, us Finnish youth delegates, we get 200 euros a month, which is more than 0, but not something to really live by, which I think it's something already very helpful. But you can continue.
It's like a motivation to push and work on the topics, because when the day comes, you pay for your rent. You can steal some money from this voluntary. Okay, I agree it has to be voluntary, because otherwise we would maybe be here for the money, as people usually go to work to get some money, not because they love the job. But it's the perfect ikigai would be to find the job that fulfills your heart and also fills your wallet as well. But my first wish would be to get paid. Second would be that there are more of us. So every youth delegate program has junior and senior systems. That is one of the main points for Estonian National Youth Council for that as well. So I'm really happy. And the third one would be that I would stay happy and healthy in all of this madness that's happening around us. But that's my mindful and holistic approach to the climate crisis happening right now.
I also shortly want to add, before I touch on my wishes to the goldfish, that like for us, it's also a very new thing that we get some sort of compensation. And I think to us, a large part of the argument behind it is also the fact that if you're taking part in multiple week-lasting conferences 1 or few times a year, it's also very inaccessible to people who come from like different socioeconomic backgrounds. So that's also been a main argument for the Finnish system, to have even some sort of small pay, just to compensate for the fact that otherwise it's only accessible to those who already come from wealth. But my wishes to the goldfish, I really don't know what I would wish the fish to grant in terms of my program. But I would ask the fish for more general kind of political wishes. One would be to bring conservation back to conservatism. Please, fish, how can we get conservation to be very hot for the conservatives too? Then I would just ask the fish to solve the climate crisis, and then I don't have to need the third wish, but I think the fish is not powerful enough to change those things. So I kind of cheated around the question here, but I'm highlighting the fact that I really don't personally. I know it might sound a bit weird, but in a sense, if these programs and if this system wasn't needed anymore, I would be in a very happy place. Just like adults solve the climate crisis, and I don't need this representative position. We can even scrap a lot of different things, but I don't want the planet to die. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so my 3 wishes. I'm going to steal one from you, because I completely agree about the compensation. I know that for the Dutch delegates, they do have a compensation, 600 or 700 euros. Maybe one of you can correct.
Yeah, it's in that range.
A month or?
A month.
Per month.
It's like a pretty... Yeah, I could pay my rent and have some.
Yeah, but
food
also
as
living
well.
in the Netherlands, it's a little bit more expensive than in
But
Estonia.
still, economics are like in
Of
every
course.
European
The
country.
inflation is happening, yes, of course. And for them, it's like you need to work, but you still can have another work aside. So because you have this payment, you treat it a little bit more like a work, but I still believe it should be voluntarily. And it gives you bigger chances to actually go, for example, to the regions, which is one of the problems that Latvia has because everything is located in Riga. And we don't have nor time nor resources to actually go to some regions and talk with people there. Another my wish was cancel all the oil, gas, and coal lobbyists. At least not to bring them to the COP. Especially it was very frustrating in Azerbaijan to know how many of them there are, and also knowing that Azerbaijan is an oil country, and for them also lobbying the thing that is destroying our planet. And the third one, maybe just actually start listening and doing something for the youth, not just having these youth representatives, because as I said, it looks very democratic and fancy to have it, but actually to start doing something. Yeah.
Maybe to continue on the giving up the oil and gas and coal. My first wish for sure would be that the world leaders would actually make science-based decisions. And like we have the science, we just need the wisdom to do the action for it. And I think the second wish for the fish would be to transition away from the fossil fuels in general, because that's science-based advice that they're giving us.
Transition away or phase out? Sorry.
This is basically a question of United Nations lingo, I guess, as long as we get rid. This was not my wish, but I guess
I've been the Estonian Climate Youth Delegate for too long.
Phase out is the stronger language, but it's
just stop using it.
Stop
No
using
transition
it.
away, not phase out. Just stop it.
Yeah, let's go with the stop it. So I think those are my wishes for the fish in general.
I will try to make them come true.
So to continue on this, I would say that, first of all, I completely, a lot have been said before, and I completely agree with both of your points about more ears who are listening, and also more action that is coming after the listening moment. It's, I think, very the core point of us being representatives, of the successful representative system. And then second point, I also would ask for the put on my vote towards the compensation point, because that's true that also in Estonia we have different regions and different. Also, there are youth councils and youth-led NGOs across Estonia who are doing something in climate area. So it would definitely help to move around Estonia more freely, and also to as I really like the point about it being accessible to people who also need to invest their time to either university or some other job or something like this. So it would be the second. And then the third point, I would say that it would be also something around either the fossil fuels transitioning away or phasing out, or the climate law happening, or something something in this policy area probably. So yes, I hope that Golden Fish listened carefully and put all of this in the list.
I always love when podcasts have this call to action in the end. My call to action is that I'm really happy that February is now officially the Youth Delegate Month in Estonian National Youth Council's network. And we have 2 new youth delegates coming up. One is for the Council of Europe Congress of Local and Regional Authorities, and the other one is the first ever junior European Union youth delegates. And maybe they're listening to us right now, so please make it quick and short. What would you say to someone listening right now who is thinking about becoming a youth delegate? So should they go for it? so like, why do you think so much? You should say like, yes.
So was it about a tip? Like,
Okay, tip, but should they go for it?
Yes.
yes, for
Yes.
sure.
Yay!
Yeah.
They should definitely go for it. I think it applies, like I already said earlier, it applies more broadly. If you're thinking of anything that would require change in society, I find it odd how often we might feel disconnected from the fact that we can, in a democracy, change our own system and our own laws and our own set of ways of working. So be it youth delegate, be it national or local council, be it your association for a sports club, we just need more youth to get up and get doing.
I would like to add to it, like that really doesn't. Like I don't think it really matters what is the like I don't know major or the like certain background. For example, I have met people who have studied, like I'm personally studying political science, but I also know that like for example someone is studying medicine or like engineering or like business or communications, for example, like a lot of different things. So even if you as a young person feel that maybe your like the thing that you're doing now is a bit like further away from politics, I would say that it should definitely not stop you from applying and to try it out.
Yeah, and to continue on that, I feel like you just need to start. Like even though if you feel you're not ready, like to start, like all the knowledge and all the practices that you need along the way, like they will come to you, like when you just start doing.
I don't know what to add, but of course we all like to be, including myself, to be a couch potatoes and just scroll on TikTok or read some tweets, or the X app now it's called, still it's a Twitter, to read some tweets about what's happening. But if it frustrates you so much what's happening, then you should take an action. Because just waiting for somebody else to do something in your place, we see already how it's going with the climate crisis. So it's a little bit easier. Okay, it's not easier, but it will feel at least better to do something and that you know that you can influence something. That the politics is not something very, very far away, but it's actually at everyone's room and it's everywhere. So you can influence everything.
How can people contact you or collaborate?
So we firstly, like we have our NOORDELEGAATIDE, so I'll also have it written. I hope we can maybe also get it on the screen then, but all socials are basically through that. Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if we're really any active on X, but like basics, reach out through that. Our webpage also has every single of our 6 different youth delegate positions, contact infos, reach out. You can reach out personally, just my name in an at Antti Regelin in basically every single social. And especially for all Estonian friends and colleagues, we're quite close by. I literally live next to the harbor, so I can hop on a ferry quite easily. So yeah, please collaborate, please join us. And like, I don't think there's any additional like things to make it more complicated. Just reach out and then we'll try to make things happen.
So yeah, for Latvia, you can reach out on Instagram at UN Youth. That line that goes underline, is it called like that? I don't know. Latvia. But as I said, I'm not an advisor anymore. I served my 2 years. So now it's new faces there, but if you want to contact me, it's at Avotiņa, which is basically my first letter of my name and my surname. And if you want to read more about our program, you can find it at the Club the House website.
Yeah, personally, like anyone wants to continue the discussion, like just contact on Instagram. I think that's where I'm more active. Antti already told about the Finnish Youth Council, NOORDELEGAATIDE Instagram page, but Saara Böök, that's where you find me.
Yes, we also have an Instagram, which is NOORDELEGAAT, where you can just write, or you can also go on the website where there are contacts of all the youth delegates and also the contacts of Anna and me. So yes, just type it in and then we both will be very happy to collaborate on any idea or make any put our input into your project or activities.
Yeah, and I'd also want to, before we quit, to highlight and thank Celine for all this collaboration, because this is now starting to feel a bit like a tradition. So last year when I started, we came to Tallinn for a short visit at the beginning of our mandate, and us and the Estonians were very close. We also collaborate throughout the year. It feels so awesome to know that we have a friend and someone who also has like a similar societal background and system to come from where we can compare. So I just really want to highlight that the fact that we are here is already kind of a multi-year thing that we're wanting to make more permanent. We're wanting to have more international collaboration. And just thank you for having us here, and thank you also for having such a great itinerary for us today. It's been really awesome, and you should really collaborate with them.
Thank you so much for coming to Estonia. My call to action is to have international friends. I have international friends, so take me as an example. Ooh. Thank you all for joining us. If you're feeling inspired to learn about youth delegates or want to apply yourself, that's possible. Check out their social media. Greetings from Estonia. Until we meet again.
Aitäh.
Aitäh.
Antti Regelin, Finland's Youth Delegate for Climate.
Saara, Böök, Finland's Youth Delegate for Climate.
Celine Kraus, Eesti Kliima Noordelegaat.
Karin-Annika Luga, Eesti Kliima Noordelegaat.
And Paula, Patrīcija, Avotiņa, Climate Advisor to the UN Youth Delegate of Latvia 2023 till 2024.